Hi everybody, you're watching Hyper Tiger XT. My name is Tiger, and in case you were wondering, the XT stands for... A few weeks ago, if you were paying attention to my Twitter and my Tumblr feeds, you might have seen me talking about something and using the rather vague hashtag the Sony drama, mostly in an effort to let people blacklist what was going on if it wasn't interesting to them, but also to maybe try and help get something done about a problem that I was having. You see, Sony has this policy where, for some completely non-transparent reason, once you've created your PSN ID, which is the Sony equivalent of a gamertag or an online ID, it can't be changed. And this is all well and good in most situations, although I do generally argue that nobody should be made to wear the mistakes of their youth well into their later life. But what about in a situation where the ID starts to become more of a problem? My PSN ID, for instance, contains a name that, as of a little while ago, only my family use, and really that's because I don't want to disappoint or upset them or anything like that, and to be honest, anybody else calling me by that name makes me really, very, extremely uncomfortable. To make a long story short though, my PSN ID was made using my birth name as its basis at a time when I hadn't realised that my gender assigned at birth didn't really match up with my own personal experience of who I am. Every time I signed into the PlayStation network and every time I gave it my PSN ID so people could add me as a friend, I was dead naming myself, and eventually that starts to get a little bit, amongst other things, depressing, being reminded of a bit of yourself that is almost now the anti-you. I tried a couple of basic things at first in order to try and get this changed to something more appropriate. I tweeted at the PlayStation support, who just gave me a stock answer, which was like really actually super disheartening. I posted on what I thought was the support message board too, but it turns out that that service is actually entirely community driven, so while they sympathized with my situation, there was literally nothing that they could do. Eventually I figured out how to submit a ticket to the official PlayStation support team, which was slightly convoluted, and I wrote to them a very passionate request so that they could see just how important this was, not just to me, but the implications that their decision would then have for trans gamers all over the world. It took them a little bit to get back to me, and I was beginning to think that I was just going to be told no again, but to my absolute rapturous delight, they sympathized with my situation. The Sony people actually said that they understood where I was coming from, and because I'd held with my account for them for so very long and I had all of these purchases and everything that I'd already made, that they would let me change my ID, but in doing so, I would lose all of my friends and my trophies. This, however, was a teeny tiny itty bitty price to pay for what it would mean for me in the long term and for like all of my emotional well-being and everything like that. So they fixed my PlayStation ID, and they even let me pick out my own new one, and now everything is completely sunny and wonderful. I guess what I wanted to get out of telling you this story is that for the right reasons, like when it comes to supporting minority gamers and stuff, companies are actually sometimes willing to bend the rules, and that's pretty neat. So what I want for you to do for me today is to leave me a comment telling me what you think about the whole thing that I've just told you, all of this story, down below. And please remember to share this with all of your various people, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay, bye bye.